Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're embarking on a journey into a topic that really pushes beyond how we normally think about hunger. We're going to explore this idea that hunger isn't just, physical, not just that grumble in your stomach. There's something deeper.
That's exactly right. And this deep dive, it isn't going to be about calorie counts or dosages, that kind of thing. It's really about those profound inner questions, the ones that surface when our usual ways of coping, they start to shift.
Yeah.
Now, usually on the deep dive, we pull from a whole stack of sources, but today we're doing something, well, a bit unique. We're framing our whole conversation around the insights of Dan Hollis. He was a behavioral scientist, really renowned for his work on mindful eating, the psychology of hunger. His perspective is just, well, it's a revolutionary way to look at what being hungry truly means.
Okay, so our mission today is pretty clear then. We want to unpack this concept, emotional hunger, then understand the kind of unique role that medications like semaglutide, Ozempic, Wegovy play in revealing it, not causing it, revealing it, and then really grasp Dan Hollis's framework for navigating this really crucial inner work. The sources we have give us a great window into his teachings. So let's start there. Let's contrast how we usually think about hunger, physical thing, time till the next meal, with Dan Hollis's definition, which is quite different. When we only focus on the physical, what might we be overlooking? What deeper signals are we maybe missing?
Well, Dan Hollis's core insight really changes the game here. He taught, and I'm quoting loosely, emotional hunger sounds like a craving, but it's actually a question, a need asking to be seen. It's pretty striking how often we mix up other basic needs, like just being tired or lonely or maybe even overstimulated. We mistake those for physical hunger.
Right.
And that leads us to grab food when what we genuinely need might be, I don't know, connection or comfort or just a bit of clarity.
It really makes you reconsider so many moments, doesn't it? Like, if you think about it, you can probably remember times you reached for food out of habit, maybe, or because of an emotion, rather than actual physical need. That pause, that moment of self-curiosity asking, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
That's exactly the shift Dan Hollis encouraged.
Yeah, exactly. And to set the stage for how these deeper needs kind of bubble up, let's just quickly touch on what semaglutide actually does. It's a GLP-1 receptor agonist. Basically, it mimics a natural gut hormone. It tells your brain you're full, slows down digestion, that sort of thing. It was first developed for type 2 diabetes, but its, pretty profound impact on appetite quickly made it a big tool for weight management.
Okay, and this is where Hollis's perspective really challenges our usual assumptions about these drugs. Because he says semaglutide doesn't solve emotional hunger. Instead, his words were something like, it just makes the biological noise quiet enough to finally hear that deeper emotional hunger. It doesn't fix it, it uncovers it.
Precisely. Hollis put it very powerfully. Semaglutide isn't the solution to emotional eating. It's the silence that lets you find one. And that silence, it's not just emptiness. It's a crucial window, maybe a biological pause, where the real inner work can actually start. It buys you space.
Okay, so food stops being your, let's say, emotional scaffolding. Hollis taught that you might suddenly feel exposed. But, for someone who's always used food for comfort, that sounds maybe more terrifying than empowering, right? How did Hollis suggest navigating that discomfort, or do you just have to tough it out?
Well, he didn't frame it as something to just endure. He saw that feeling of exposure not as a negative, but as the necessary space for real change to begin. He viewed it as this opportunity to rebuild identity, behavior, and emotional awareness. So it's less about pain and more about recognizing the chance for growth when that old coping mechanism isn't masking everything else.
Right, okay. So how do we actually start that work in this new quiet space? Dan Hollis had this really practical approach. Instead of just fighting cravings, he teaches us to pause, get curious, ask, what am I really hungry for? Where does someone even start if they've always just tried to, battle those cravings?
He really emphasized this idea of separating true hunger from signal confusion. Hollis taught that cravings aren't enemies we need to conquer. They're more like messengers. So the goal isn't to just blindly obey them or fight them, but to meet them with insight, not impulse. You learn to observe it, watch the craving instead of just reacting, decode what it's really saying.
And it's crucial to point out, Hollis wasn't anti-medication at all.
No, not at all.
He actually saw the strength of something like semaglutide, not just in quieting the appetite, but in giving you that time. Time to reflect, reset old patterns, maybe rewire your responses. It's like a tool for self-discovery.
Exactly. And what's so compelling here is that healing emotional hunger, it needs so much more than just meal plans or tracking macros. It fundamentally requires empathy. like for yourself.
Wow.
Deep awareness. And the courage to ask that question behind the craving, which, raises a really important question for you listening. How can you actually cultivate that empathy and awareness in your own life? How do you move beyond just rules?
Okay, but this journey, this self-discovery,
Right.
it's not usually a straight line, right? Setbacks happen. And Dan Hollis had a really powerful way of looking at this. He said, most people don't relapse into hunger. They relapse into confusion. He taught that setbacks aren't shameful. They're predictable, not shameful. They're just signals you're human.
Craw.
So why is confusion the real enemy here, not the craving itself?
Well, Hollis used this great analogy. He described weight loss, or really any big life change, as a spiral staircase, not a straight line down. Sometimes it feels like you're going in circles, maybe even going backwards slightly, but you're actually still climbing, just from a different angle. He also stressed, fast results don't mean lasting results. Pacing is protection. So when you hit a plateau, Hollis saw it as the body just catching up, the metabolism asking for a bit of grace, adjusting to a new normal.
And what about when those old cravings come back or a habit you thought was gone suddenly reappears?
Yeah, Dan taught that this isn't weakness. It's memory. It's just an old neural pathway lighting up again.
Ah, okay.
But the crucial difference, he said, is your ability now to answer differently. You have a choice you didn't have before, didn't see before.
How do you practically do that, though, when that old pathway feels so strong, so automatic?
Well, that brings us right into identity. This was a key insight from Hollis. Your body changes fast, or your identity takes time to catch up. So setbacks don't necessarily mean the medication failed or you failed. They often mean, as he put it, the story you were telling yourself still needs updating.
Mhm.
And he also stressed this so profoundly. You don't hold on to weight loss with discipline. You hold on to it with alignment.
Alignment. Okay, so what does that actually mean for you, the listener, navigating your own journey? Dan Hollis taught us how to frame a setback not as like a judgment on ourselves, but as a question, a moment for curiosity. He encouraged asking without shame. Okay, what am I feeling right now? What do I truly need? And importantly, who do I want to become now that I have this space, this clarity?
Mm.
So to kind of wrap this up, semaglutide isn't some magic bullet, but it can be, as Hollis put it, a miracle pause. And this deep dive into his insights is really a powerful invitation to use that pause wisely, to listen, to learn, and ultimately to grow.
Yeah, and if we connect this to the bigger picture, healing that emotional hunger, it really takes empathy, not self-judgment. It takes awareness, not just rigid rules. And curiosity, not punishment. Ultimately, as Hollis really illuminated, it's about replacing the story you tell yourself, not just replacing the snack you reach for.
So as you go from here, maybe mull this over. When those biological cravings quiet down, the real truth about your needs, those fundamental questions about your emotional world, they start to emerge. What unaddressed question, or maybe what unseen need, might be waiting there for your curiosity now that some of the noise has faded?